Would it be possible to completely overhaul how trick names are done and fix all the problems? Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, a channel about skateboarding and all of its history and all of its appearances in media and everything. I've got some questions for you that are more around trick names and stances and things like that. Let's get into the first one. This is from Junior, who asks, is a 360 Casper heel and a front foot impossible the same trick? Yes. Okay, let me show you. Got my handy dandy handboard here. Okay, so a Casper heel would be like start a heel flip and then do like a back shove, kind of, or like I'm thinking like a switch back shove, like a front shove. So if you were to do a 360 version of it, it would look just like a front foot impossible. So that's a good way to think about it, but the way that I like to think about it is, what does that imply? You know, if that's a front foot impossible, then what if I did a 360 hospital flip and that's like a backside front foot impossible? If you can do a backside front foot impossible, can you do a front side normal impossible, or like, you know, and try to come up with different things? So you have like the unpossible, which is a backside front foot impossible, except it's different because it starts like a heel flip and then you put your back foot or your front foot in the back and pull it around this way. That's an unpossible. So is there like a front side unpossible? Is there like a heel unpossible? Can I start like a heel flip, then get my front foot in the front and do an impossible that way? Like, what does it mean that these tricks are in the same type of category? What can you build off of with that sort of info? That's why I think it's so important to have trick names and, you know, actually consider this type of stuff, because you can find new ideas just through like the math of how the names work and then see if it's possible, you know? All right. Next question is from Tim James, who submitted it through Patreon. You will definitely get your question answered one way or another if you send it through Patreon. This one is, what trick were you happiest to finally land? I thought of 3. So the first one that came to mind, back in the day, like in the early 90s, I didn't skate at the time because I was like 2, but they used to have the tiny little like 30 mil wheels, and they would do like a no slide and pull it up to crook, and since it was such a small wheel, it just like popped over, so you could slide and pull it up to a crook. And I always thought that was really, really cool, but I could never do it that way. I could never pop up and pull the whole wheel up on top of it. So I built this setup where I had a box and it dropped to a different box. And so I started with the slide and I used that little gap to switch to crook. Now, it's not good. It's slow. It's not very far. But it felt so cool to do a trick and then land the second part into a crook. Like, it felt so cool, and it felt like I was doing like that type of thing that I like to watch, you know? So that one felt cool. It's not an amazing clip by any means, but I definitely remember how it felt to do that one. The next one is the rail semi flip, which I will show that clip to you, which I believe I was the first to do it. But like that, and that's what was cool, because I hadn't seen it. So I'm not trying to figure out how that person did it. I was trying to see if it is possible and then doing it. And I tried it 2 years ago, I think, and I couldn't do it. Like it would just pop up and go way behind me, and I was like trying to catch my toe on it, pull it around. I couldn't do it again. I might be, you know, if I spent some time and kind of rebalanced it and figured out where my weight should be and all that. But to like come up with an idea and see it through and actually do it, that felt super good. Next one is the rail flip late hard flip, which I did in like 2007, which you can see here. It's not super clean, but it is a rail flip late hard flip, which is felt amazing. Like, to do a late hard flip when I could barely do a normal hard flip, you know, like, it's a totally different trick. They're not even remotely the same. They just technically both flip this way and spin this way, but the way you do it is totally different. But it felt so cool to do something with a late hard flip. And then I redid that one on my Tricks and Tribulations series right here. A series I would like to restart this spring. Cross your fingers for me, even if you don't care to watch it. Me being healthy enough to do it will be pretty cool. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But the next question is from Willie Smith, says, can you please help identify or name this trick? The comment section is having a tough time with it. So this was a post on our skateboarding, and this is what the trick looks like. That is an anti-Casper flip, which is not a super uncommon trick. Like I guess I've only seen it a couple of times, but like I've heard the name a lot. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard to come up with that, but I don't post comments on there at all. Like not just skateboarding. Like I told this story before, but it was a long time ago. I bought an Xbox One X, like not the current new X, like the One X. So this was some time ago, and it came out with a bundle. It was a bundle with the disc version of Fallout 76 on it. And when I bought it, I took it to and I said, hey, I've got that game already. I had pre-ordered the game before I had the console. And so she took the game out and traded in toward itself, and I was able to save the trade-in value of the game against the system I was buying. And I thought that was an interesting story. People were talking about that. I posted it, and they're like, no, you didn't. They don't even have a physical disc version of that game, of this console bundle. That doesn't exist. You're lying. And so I posted, and a bunch of people just piling on about how stupid I am and why am I lying? Why am I trying to make up this ridiculous story? They would never do that. I work at GameStop, and this would never happen because that bundle does not exist, and we're not allowed to do that. And so I find the link to the exact system I bought with the physical disc in it, and posted as a reply to all these people. No one said a word. No apologies, no sorry, no like, oh, you know what? I hadn't seen that one yet, my bad. People just destroy you online for any reason, even if you're right. So let's talk about that trick. So that's why I saw that, but I didn't comment on it. So a Casper flip, start a kick flip, right? And then you do like wrap it kind of, but it's kind of like a late shove, you know? I'm sure you've seen that trick. Like technically what it should be is a half flip, catch it Casper, hit the tail and pull it around. But if it starts to flip and you use your front foot to pull it back, Casper flip, hospital flip, kind of in the same category. But if you start the kick flip and then use your back foot to pull it around front side, that's as if you did it off like a nose Casper or an anti-Casper. Technically, an anti-Casper is like a half impossible to nose Casper, but a half impossible Casper flip is called a feather flip. So that's so the name anti-Casper flip is available because of that. But anyway, so like, yeah, you start a kick flip, do like a nose Casper, shove it, anti-Casper flip. This was a fluke, according to the guy, so it doesn't look like he was trying that, of course, but if he had landed it, it would have been an anti-Casper flip. Okay. Next question is from Beans on Toast, who says, you've mentioned that your knee injury has prevented you from skating for like a year or so. Would you not consider getting a cruiser for some low-impact skating, or maybe a longboard, or does that not interest you? There's a couple issues with it for me. First is that even that was too dangerous. Like I was getting hurt a lot with my knee, like re-injured. Like if I took the stairs, it was always if I was like turning. So if I like opened up the door to let out the dog and then I turned and stepped on the stairs, like that twist and move, that would often hurt, or like my knee would kind of drop out and stuff like that. So like it's risky to do anything and like get stranded, you know, if I skated somewhere then got hurt because I dropped off a curb, you know, then like I got to get home and I'm going to be hurt. That's one issue as to why I didn't. The other is that the sidewalks here are really bad. I actually tried skating to downtown and back, and I ended up just carrying my board because the sidewalks are so bad. So yeah, it's not really an option, but picked your question because I figured I would give you guys an update on my knee. So if you follow my Instagram, I was at the doctor and I saw a physical therapist to help me out with it. And so my knee has had these problems, and her idea was that my IT band, which is on the side, like the outside of your knees, outside of your legs, is like really tight for some reason. I have to like massage it to try to keep it loose. And that what happens is there's like pressure on my kneecap, and if I sit for some time and then I stand up, like the pressure of the IT band could push my kneecap to like pop out of its groove. That was the theory, as like that explained why like every now and then it would hurt a lot, because like that would happen and then it could drop because my knee is not functioning right now because the kneecap isn't in place. So yeah, it's like a really complicated thing. I'm trying to do these different sorts of glute exercises, which are supposed to help it. Like you strengthen up your glutes so that there's less pressure on your knee because there's more pressure on your legs, type of thing. We'll see how that goes. I've been doing it. I've skated twice since I went to the doctor, and I haven't gotten hurt yet. I have had it feel a little bit weak, so I'm trying to take it easy, but we'll see. Hopefully I'll be in decent shape by the summer. Okay, last question is from Tim James, again, also through Patreon. He said, based on your nose switch nollie fakie question. Sorry, I'm not totally sure on that first part. Do you think we'll ever see any sweeping shifts or redefinitions in skating terminology to simplify or clarify tricks? With how increasingly technical things are getting, we might reach a level where our current language is either too unclear or just plain inadequate. In 1878, the QWERTY keyboard was patented. The QWERTY keyboard, which if you're not from the US, the first keys on the top row are QWERTY. I know in France it's AZERTY. It might be different in other countries, but the QWERTY keyboard, very common on Earth right now. It was invented in 1878. The purpose of the layout is to put commonly used keys far apart so that they don't jam the type, like the actual, like the mechanics of it. So if you hit two keys right next to each other, both back to back real quick, it's a problem. So they space them out a lot. Like S and T aren't close to each other, that type of thing. We still use that. Like when you're searching for the latest Bachelor episode on Hulu on your TV, you're using your remote, often on a QWERTY keyboard. But it's designed to be slow. It's designed to space out commonly used combinations of letters. There are other alternatives. There's the Dvorak keyboard for like physical keyboards. There's KALQ, calc, which is like a thumb, like a texting keyboard. But for the most part, you see QWERTY still. Designed in the 19th century to clear up key jams. That's why we still use QWERTY, because it just got so popular that there's never one moment that you can switch. If you want to learn one of those other types of keyboards, you can, but you're going to have a hard time typing anywhere else if you have to. Like if you use your home computer, then you got an office computer. The other problem is keyboard, like the, like even if typing is faster, then all of your shortcuts are going to be in weird places. Like, when are you going to make that leap to suddenly change everything, right? The point is, when people have been using the same skateboarding terminology for decades and decades and decades and have gotten very used to it, and everyone, of a certain age who has been skating for enough time is very fluent in this terminology, and we can talk to each other and explain what tricks are, how do you go from that to just like, let's change everything? We're not going to use it like that anymore. We're going to rework fakie, because fakie shouldn't be the same terminology as forward, just backwards. We're going to do it as if it's switch nollie. So we're going to we're going to rephrase all that stuff. When do you do that? When can you do that? And who has the authority to do that? Nobody. Like if any one major company in their ads, or like the Barracks in their, what they caption in their games of skate or whatever, if they just started saying it backwards, hoping that it'll catch on, it probably wouldn't. Like everyone knows that that's wrong. It's not going to become the new thing. Like it's so hard to, in one step, just overhaul how everything works. So, you're still going to use that QWERTY keyboard. That said, small changes will be made. Like you've probably seen that throughout time. In my Lance Mountain video, he talks about doing a fakie. Like way back in the day, like he brought in a quarter pipe to school and he was showing the kids how he can do a fakie. I don't know what that means. But like you wouldn't say that now, or you wouldn't phrase it that way. So like things have slowly evolved and changed and gotten a little bit more standardized, but I don't think there can ever be one moment where we throw out all of our terminology and fix it. So I don't know. That's it for that. If you have your own questions, you can submit them by going to radratvideo.com. There's a form on the homepage for that. You can, of course, submit them through Patreon, and you'll definitely get an answer either in text or on video. And you can support the channel by either you can join here on YouTube, you can like, you can subscribe, you can comment, you can do all that kind of stuff. You can stay tuned for the next video, and I'll see you there. Thanks for hanging out.